Welcome to the Round Rock Word Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Kevin Hinckley. Welcome, Kevin.
It's good to be here.
And now we've been excited to have you guys back in the ward. You used to be serving in the YSA ward in Dallas, is that right?
We did. We served for 3 years.
Okay.
So we did COVID, and then we were back in the ward for a little bit, and then we did 3 years under which the wards merged, and we came back, and it was a different world.
Oh my goodness.
We got to be back in the ward with you.
Yes. We used to be in the first ward with you.
You did, and we missed you.
We just had to join teams, you know. Now we've got Dream Team Round Rock Ward.
It works.
What was it like serving with the YSA during that time in COVID? Young single adults, sorry.
That's really a good question, because when we got there, COVID was still sort of on, and so they were still wearing masks. And I think, to be honest with you, it's going to take a while to understand everything that COVID did to us. So there were a number of these college-age kids that were coming out of either high school or their college experience during COVID, where they might be in their dorm room and sit up, at 8 o'clock in the morning and start Zooming classes and not leave their dorm room, or kids that are coming out of high school and they had just spent the last couple of years not being able to graduate publicly, and they were trapped in their rooms, and so socially everybody was a little bit more reluctant, and so even if you're wearing masks. And so the day we're sitting on the stand and we announced from the pulpit, stake president has said, but masks are no longer needed. There was like this nervous look around the room, and then people started to take their masks off, and it just felt weird to them. And,
wow.
But on the stand, none of us were wearing masks, but there were sure a lot of people still nervous.
Yeah. Oh my.
So it was an interesting time for them. It's an interesting ward to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, with all the different social situations, that's when they're really setting out on their own a lot. How did you encourage them to start to socialize, kind of in a comfortable, normal way?
This age group does groups.
Okay.
You got to do groups. The idea of pairing off one-on-one and actually dating, you get panicked looks when you suggest that.
And this is with young single adults, not teenagers.
Oh, no.
Okay.
These are 25, 26. It's like, Brother Hinckley, we don't do that. So it has to be group, family home evenings, group activities, and stuff like that. And so you try and draw them in that way. But it's got to be groups.
Create spaces and activities where they feel comfortable, welcome.
And a variety of activities across the board. And the key is pizza.
Pizza, okay.
Pizza.
Any specific brand of pizza
No,
you guys like?
it does not. At one point, I think we were spending like $700 a month on
goodness.
pizza.
On pizza.
On pizza. If you're going to have an activity, then you need to have some kind of treat. And
You're feeding the hungry.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
And so we actually called 4 couples from the Plano Steak to come in, and they instead of doing pizza, they were actually bringing little meals that they'd put together, whether it was tacos or something like that. But yeah, you got to feed them. They're just funny.
That's amazing. I bet it was a little bit hard to leave after all that groundwork.
Really hard to leave. Yeah.
Did you feel like it was a mission in a lot of ways?
Very much. Oh yeah, for sure. Because it's constant. It's every day, and with YSAs, they will go 7 days a week. If there's activities and they like it, they'll show up.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that's very much what it felt like, was coming back from mission. We felt like that was a mission that we served.
Yeah, definitely. And couples are needed
Big
to
time.
do that kind of work. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I jumped ahead of myself. I also want to ask where you grew up. How many kids were in your family? What? Adam has another question. He wants to know what you got in trouble for as a little boy. If you want to share.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, see, you're far enough away now. It's safe, right? No, I grew up in Layton,
Okay.
Utah, and my dad was a school teacher. So my earliest memories of that are us getting up on a Saturday morning, driving over to the city building, renting a push mower, because we couldn't afford our own mower, and then bringing it back and then mowing the lawn with a push mower.
Wow.
And here's the story on that. My dad was in. My mom and dad got married right at the end of World War II, and so he's serving, and then the war ends, and then he comes back, and they're able to spend a little time together. And the Ward 70s Quorum is in Salt Lake, calls him on a mission, and my dad is willing to go on a mission. My mom's going to support him.
So they were married. Did
So
they have
were
kids
married.
at that time?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. And so she goes back and lives with her
Wow.
parents. He goes on a mission to the eastern southern states. And then he comes back from that. He gets really sick. He almost has to come back. He refuses to come back. And then he comes back, and when my mom and he drive back from the train station, they arrive home, there's a draft notice there because he still owes the military a couple of years, and the Korean War has just started,
Oh,
and he's
my
being drafted
goodness.
into the Korean War. So he's going to then, they will actually move to California, to Monterey, California, where they go to Fort Ord, and he will serve in the military there. But gosh, by this time they'd been married about 6 or 7 years. They weren't having any kids, wasn't any sign of it, and my mom was walking to state conference, and car pulls over, and it's Spencer Kimball. He's speaking, and he wanted to know if she wanted to ride. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm Elder Kimball. I'm speaking. She tells him what's going on. How you doing? I said, well, we'd like to have a child. It's not happening, and he gave her a blessing that she would.
Wow.
Amazing. And then even so now and then he actually gave her, and I can say this because I've said it in other places, he gave her some very specific information that almost like a doctor would give her about how to get pregnant,
Wow.
and which she followed. And then when she goes back home, a bishop gives her a calling. And he says, anything that you want. Well, we're still hoping to have a child. It's been almost 9 years now. And so he gives her a blessing to set her apart for calling. And he says, in the middle of that blessing, and the blessings of motherhood are already upon you. And he stops, and he's shocked. And she goes home to tell my dad. He says, I'm pregnant. And he goes home to his wife, the bishop does, and he says, I think I may have just made a major mistake.
Wow.
But she was. And so that's where I came after 9 years.
That's amazing.
And then 6 months after that, after I was born in January, and that summer I got spinal meningitis. And at that moment, like in the last 6 months, they had just discovered a cure, a treatment for spinal meningitis. Before that, most kids ended up either like vegetables or comatose or something, severely damaged. So I'd waited 9 years until the spinal meningitis thing was. So.
Wow, that must feel really special. To know that your mother was so seen when she had supported your father like that.
It was really, and seen is probably a really good word
Mm-hmm.
for her to say that the Lord knows what we're going through and what we've sacrificed.
Wow,
So
she's a special lady.
she was, yeah. And then to Adam's question, this just gives you some sense of kind of what I grew up with. In Layton, I managed to get together after school with a couple of friends of mine, and we managed to light a gully on fire. We started a little fire, and the fire suddenly took off in the dry reeds. And there's a big park in Layton now where the gully was that I set on fire. And I remember, and then we did what most little boys do. We then ran home because we didn't know what to do because it was on fire. So I remember watching from my house as the fire engines are coming up the street to put out the fire in the gully that we started. This moving towards houses that are farther up the street from us, and they were able to stop it before it got there. But I remember when my dad came home, I said, "I've got to be honest. We're the ones that set the fire." And my dad said, "Okay, get in the car." And we got in the car, and he drove me to Dairy Queen and got me a ice cream sundae.
Wow.
For
telling the truth.
telling the truth, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then since our bishop was the fire chief, then we went over later that week, and I got to visit with him, and he says, "Yeah, we're going to have you come. We'll have you come clean the fire in place or something." He never did. But anyway.
He allowed a little boy to feel like he could repent.
Yep. Yeah. Good stuff.
So were you ever scared after that, or you were just kind of watching things happen?
Well, I thought about it, but the idea, and of course I still remember clearly my dad saying what I value most, because he could have punished me, it could have been harsh, and that was not my dad's style. He just said the most important thing to him was I told the truth.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Really
what a good life lesson.
Super huge, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
You chose to go to BYU.
Went on a mission and then came back to BYU to days where if you were a returned missionary, you just got in.
Oh, okay. Where'd you go on your mission?
Manchester, England.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Where the mission department lied to me. They said it was an English-speaking mission. And it was months before I understood anything that anybody was saying.
Oh my goodness.
I went to the north of England, just below Scotland, and the road was so thick that it just takes forever to learn it.
Wow. So did you come back with an accent?
No, but I can drop into an accent.
Really?
Pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah, because one of the things that I did is I learned each part of England has a different dialect, a different style.
Okay.
And so I spent time listening to tapes that would record people from Liverpool as opposed to Bristol, as opposed to London, as opposed to Sunderland, as opposed to Yorkshire, and they all have a different style to them. And I could usually drop into, if this was somebody from down south, it has a little different the way that you say it, and then in Liverpool it's a little different. You sound like the Beatles. You just. And I would talk to them. Sometimes they wouldn't even know I was American.
Oh, that's so fun.
But yeah, it was fun.
That's neat. That's a great talent.
Yeah, I thought so.
You can adapt.
Yeah.
Is there something about England or the Saints there that you really enjoyed?
Part of it was the history of it. That we were in Manchester and where Brigham Young had been printing things, and the first apostles that were there had great success around Manchester and Merseyside and Preston and all that area. That was all in our mission.
Wow.
But no, the people there were incredibly great. There's an English style that is reserved, but once they get to know you, you're just forever connected to them.
That's really neat.
Yeah, I loved it.
Wow. So you see the marks of the pioneers. Well, they essentially were pioneers.
They were, and of course, by the time that we got there, and this was in the 70s. Someone said that if you, in the first few years, especially in Salt Lake City, after the pioneers got there and they were setting up, probably you would hear an English accent in probably 4 out of 5 houses.
Wow.
In Utah, because so many had come, people were leaving, but so many, that when at the moment that the Saints first arrived in 1847 into the valley, there were about 10,000 Saints that arrived in the valleys. There were 30,000 Saints in England alone, without counting Denmark or anything else. So triple the amount in England. So when they started to come, they literally, into Nauvoo and into Utah, they literally poured in and shaped and saved the church.
Yeah.
Really an interesting story what they did.
So there must have been a second wave after they all left that really built up the church in England.
Yeah, there was. And in fact, for my religion class tomorrow, we're talking about B.H. Roberts.
Oh.
And how B.H. Roberts and his experience, but you get to see what was happening with the church in England in the 1850s when they're trying to, the Perpetual Immigration Fund is trying to, we have 30,000 saints there, how do we get them to Utah? And so that immigration fund is what literally was funding the trips on the ship and the wagons once they got to the trains and everything to get them out there. But it was a big deal.
Well, that's neat. Can we link your podcast episode in our comments?
Please do. It's so good.
That'd be so exciting.
That B.H. Roberts, he's unbelievable.
Wow. Okay, stay tuned.
He was
for that
literally
one.
Oliver Twist on the streets, begging, all the way to being elected as a U.S. representative to the U.S. House of Representatives, to writing the comprehensive history of the church. So it's amazing.
That's so neat.
Yeah.
Wow. Have you always been drawn to history, or has it kind of come?
History and church history, always. One of my earliest memories are of being probably 10 or 11, and my parents had bought me this little record that I played over and over and over, and it was like one of the first dramatized history of the church things, and I played it over and over. I could still hear the music in the background of that thing, right? And so hearing that, and then it's funny, the other thing that hit me growing up was not just church history, but then when I was a little bit older, I read a book. I actually have it out here in our waiting room. A book by Cleon Skousen called Fantastic Victory. And it's how Israel won the 6-Day War. I read that over and over because it was like, so Israel became one of those things for me that is just, so our ability in taking people over to visit England and showing them around that's probably one of the coolest things we do.
Wow, that's such a neat opportunity.
Oh, it is. It really is.
Wow. How did you choose what to study when you went to BYU?
That's a really good question. Because I went when I came back from my mission and went to BYU for 2.5 years, I was a business management major.
Oh. Okay.
And hating it. I hated the accounting. I hated the business classes. I was getting decent grades, but I just thought I'm going to be doing this the rest of my life. But Cindy had got a job, and she was working, when I first met her, she was working at a sheltered workshop for developmentally disabled adults. And in this workshop, they would spend all day doing little jobs and stuff like that, putting piecemeal things together and earning a little money, and they had contracts to do it. And so she was working there, and when I met her, then I got to know that world a little bit, and right after our first child was born, we ran a group home. So we had 15 adults, and 9 women, 6 guys, on a duplex. And then I would start doing counseling with them, just trying to settle things down, find out what's going on. And when I really got tired of business management, I just came home one night. We had 2 kids by then. And I said, "Hey, I'm switching majors, and it's going to require a graduate school as well." And Cindy was supportive of that. But that's really kind of. And then I got a job from there with the mental health center and with coaching Special Olympics and stuff.
Oh, neat.
Just having to look back, that's been 40 years. 40 years.
40 years.
40
Congratulations.
years.
That's exciting.
Yeah, weird. Yeah, and I still don't know anything.
That's so neat. You've sure been blessed in your practice here. I know that you've helped a lot of people.
You know, the joy of this, to be honest with you, Amanda, the best thing about what we do here is it's an LDS practice. I have a handful of non-LDS clients, but overwhelmingly it's LDS. And so what that really means is working with bishops and stake presidents, and sometimes mission presidents, because I sometimes work with missionaries that are in the field, either that I saw previously or they reach out. And so that's been the fun part, I think, is helping people like with faith transition stuff, and they're getting ready to go on a mission, or they're coming back from a mission, or they're going through church discipline, or there's just so many things that require, I think, an LDS understanding, LDS touch.
That's true.
So and sometimes that perspective, like if they're struggling with like scrupulosity, where it's like this religious OCD driving themselves nuts because they're not good enough or they're not worthy enough. Again, it takes an LDS touch and a gospel understanding to go after that.
Some people try to separate the two, the faith from, the mental and emotional healing. Do you feel like that's helpful or harmful?
That's harmful to separate it. Because for one thing, there's no question that I'm going to counsel people based on my faith and my understanding. But whether somebody has like they're atheists and they don't believe, that's going to inform the way that they look at the world. But so often, like I say, people are going to seek me out in this office out because they're struggling with things within the church, or the way that the church is looking at. Maybe they're struggling with pornography, or maybe they're struggling with an affair or something, and how the church looks at it and how the church is working with it makes a difference. So we're calling up, like yesterday I was on the phone to a bishop working with a kid, and we're getting ready to help him do some things mission-wise, but I now know what the struggle is, and he told me what he was working with, so we're teaming up, and I'll do the mental health stuff, he does the ecclesiastical thing. But
that's a good team to have as a bishop. That's amazing.
Yeah, and to be honest on that, I can usually tell a bishop that is in his first couple of years of being a bishop, to be honest, and a bishop that's in his last couple of years as being a bishop. There's a difference.
Okay.
A lot of times they come in as a bishop in the first end of it, and they're understanding about finances and helping people financially and what marriage stuff should work, and but if someone is like an accountant or an attorney and suddenly they're doing marriage counseling, later on that day from when they got set apart, it's a testimony to the mantle that falls on a bishop that they do as well as they do. But by and large, by the time that they've been in bishop for a while, they're much more likely to say, here's a part, you need to go see somebody because this is outside of what I can do.
Wow. So what would you say to those new bishops? How would you help them get over that threshold a little more?
But part of it is, let me help.
Okay.
Let me help, because no, you're not going to get any formalized training on how to work with depression or anxiety, and
that takes years at a master's.
Well, and even their understanding. And I remember having a lady that was really struggling with bipolar, manic depressive. And after I talked to her and she talked to her bishop, I called her bishop and I said, Bishop, is Kevin? Yeah, okay. And I said, did you really tell her that she needed to get off her medications? And he said, well, I might have. And I said, do you really want her to empty out her bank account and run up her credit cards that they just got out of, like $50,000 worth of credit card debt that she ran up the last time she was manic? And he says, I probably shouldn't have told her that. And I said, no, you probably shouldn't have. But let me help. Or another bishop that I talked to, and I said, and I kind of caught him after a leadership meeting. I said, I know this kid has an on and off problem with pornography, but Bishop, he's 16. He needs to get the priesthood, and we're holding him back, and we're going to lose him. We're going to lose him. And I was really gratified. He called me and said they actually had ordained him the next week.
Wow.
Because but it's just kind of what they understood and believed coming into it. But over time, as bishop, they just get better and better and better at understanding that dynamic.
That's really neat. So call on your local counselor, LDS informed counselor.
And we can help. We don't have to take over, but we can at least provide some help and some training. And sometimes a fifth Sunday lesson. I just did one of those in the States.
Yeah.
I'm doing another one next week. So.
Okay. Man, our bishops carry so much.
Oh.
I'm sure they're so grateful.
Everything they're supposed to be running around and doing is like, let's help you with this incredibly tough task.
Yeah. Man. Let's talk a little bit about your travel and your speaking experience. Have you always been a CES speaker on the side, or is it you kind of grow into that role, or how did that happen?
That's kind of developed over time. I taught gospel doctrine for 7 years in the first ward, and then volunteered to teach seminary.
I'm sure they were shocked and excited. Not seminary. Oh,
Institute.
Okay.
Institute, and we went from there, and we agreed. The institute director, Mark Ogletree, and I applied to speak at Education Week, and that was, gosh, that was like 2014 or something. So I've been teaching at Education Week just about every year, and then that opened up the opportunities to go, to do a lot of other speaking, obviously, but also to be able to take these trips, lead people on tours, and be able to speak in cool places.
That's really neat. Is it as an author that they're inviting you, or is it mostly as a speaker, an educated?
It hasn't been. I'm not that great at. I've written 6 or 7 books. I'm not really good at promoting those. They're out there on Amazon, but mostly it's just people that have heard me speak, like at Education Week or at a conference or something like that, and so I get invited in to speak at things like that. And so and now, I mean, when we've got groups in Israel or Athens or Peru or something like that, I'm still teaching classes at certain sites. Like there really is nothing like teaching a class while you're floating on a boat in the middle of the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah.
That is
wow.
That is a very cool experience. It's very.
No storms for you, though.
No storms.
Smooth sailing.
Although I will tell you, we were out on a boat once, and I taught the class, and this captain, I guess, has had a number of LDS groups out there, and like I say, we're floating along, and then they were going to teach us how to dance the Hava Nagila, Hava Nagila, Hava.
Oh yeah.
And I says, now we're ready to do that, and he says, well, aren't you going to sing the song? And I said, what song? He said, the song. What song do you want us to sing? And he goes, na 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 na. I'm going, Master, the tempest is. Yes. He's Israeli. Yes. Please sing the song. Sing the song. So yeah, we had to sing Master, the tempest is raging before he would actually let us do the Hava Nagila.
Oh, how funny! First things first. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. So that's been a blessing. That is really fun, and whether it's been teaching it in Nauvoo or Hill Cumorah or something like that, get a chance to teach those classes there. That's really good.
That's really neat.
Did that during COVID, where we couldn't even get into the sites to do that. So we camped outside Joseph and Emma's house and taught classes there, or in Fayette, outside those places, because they wouldn't even let us into the house. You might get the COVID bug in there. So.
Man, what a time.
Yeah, it was a weird time. Very weird time.
That's amazing that you came through that and evolved in a certain sense.
I think we all did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really neat. Is there a place that you really enjoy going, or a story that you've learned, or a piece of history that you wish everybody could go there? Obviously, not everybody can go on these wonderful tours to Israel or Peru. But
if I could pick, if you said, okay, you can be one place for the day, where would you go? And I'll lead into it. We were in Israel And we'll take people down Hezekiah's tunnel. It's a mile long underneath the city. It's carved by Hezekiah's men, and Isaiah is alive at the time upstairs. And everything. We'll go down that, and we were coming back up, and we were coming up towards the Wailing Wall, coming up towards the Dung Gate. And I saw a guy carrying a saxophone, or clarinet. He was carrying a clarinet. And I turned to the guys behind me and I said, "What day is this?" And they said, "Well, I think it's Thursday." And I went, "Oh my gosh, it's Thursday." Because Thursday at the wall is where all the bar mitzvahs show up. So so each bar mitzvah is going to be like 20 or 30 family members and a very embarrassed 13-year-old. This is his first day to read the scroll, the Torah scroll, and become a man in Jewish society. But it's going to be bar mitzvah. Well, they will come to, they're coming up to the wall, and they will just be group after group after group after group. And each group has like has a little tent over the top of him, a little canopy. There will be clarinets and shofar horns, and they're just singing and dancing. If you walk by them while they're dancing, they'll grab you, they'll pull you in so you can dance with them. And you picture that happening all over the place. There's this group and this group. I mean, dozens of groups, all happening simultaneously. And then they get to the wall, and the boys are reading Torah, and the mothers are on the other side of the wall. They can't. There's a divider, men and women. So they're standing on chairs looking over the top of this little tent thing. And so they're participating, but they're throwing candy during that whole thing. And it's just the most joyous. You can pick a place anywhere. That Thursdays at the wall are the most amazing place I've ever been.
Wow.
So.
That's really special.
Yeah, if I could pick one spot, it would be that.
That's so neat. Do you think there's a way that we can bring that same joy into when our young men move up to be young men and begin their priesthood service?
Would that be cool if there was some way to recognize that being ordained in there and coming into the priesthood means something? And it's in Jewish society, though, it means not just now you hold the priesthood, it means you're a man.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's at 13. A lot of Reformed groups have now added bar mitzvahs for the women, but for those bar mitzvahs or bat mitzvahs, bar mitzvahs. And then the other thing is just Jewish and Israeli society is all built on song and joy and dancing, and so they're just so quick to just jump up and dance in circles. And
we could use some of that, don't you
we
think?
could be a long. I've seen you dance.
Oh, not anymore.
I know, but I just saw. Yeah, you just had a great video. If nobody's seen that video out there,
Oh my gosh! Don't look it up.
The you and Adam video is amazing.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's dancing, but yeah, to have a whole congregation that just kind of jumps and dances and stuff like that, and we're kind of it's where I have what I call holy envy sometimes for other churches. When Cindy and I were as part of our interfaith work that we do, we were at Yom Kippur services the other night, and as they were, and part of that there was dancing and standing on our feet and celebrating, everybody singing together, and there's just this joyous thing that happens in a Jewish meeting, especially for high holy days where you're going to get Yom Kippur and all of that.
That's really neat.
Sukkot, yeah, we're a little on the bland side. It would be kind of fun to have that level of intensity of worship, and I think we need to keep holy envy for what other people do, and that's holy envy for me. Is I wish we had more of that.
That's really neat.
Yeah, and bells on our churches. I would like bells.
Oh, I would love bells.
I know, right?
Somebody'd have to ring it every day. Do you like that job?
That'd be great, wouldn't it?
That could be one of the deacons.
I
there.
think we could find a deacon that would want to ring the bell.
Oh boy, oh my goodness. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Boy, we covered a lot.
We have.
I covered a lot. There's, no, not that I can think of. Just.
Is there something in your experience, in your professional work or in your experience in the church, that you'd find encouraging to a typical Latter-day Saint or a member of our ward?
I think I grew up in the 70s and then was raising, our kids were being born in the 80s. And I call that the obedient 80s. And the emphasis was on strict obedience. And if you were raised in the 80s or have parents that were raising kids in the 80s, it was all about obedience. And one of the things that I'm watching the church evolve away from was two things. One, so not only was it strict obedience, but it was what one author has called pulling people like inside the fortress. We were the fortress church. Pull everybody in, they're them, those are the others on the outside. We got to be safe inside the inside and just kind of stay inside us. They're the others, they don't know. We're going to be safe inside here. And so we were inward facing. I think what President Nelson, what part of his mission about teaching us to be peacemakers was that I think our mission of the church is shifting from a inward facing inside the fortress church to an outward facing, we have things to bless the world with, not necessarily to evangelize them, they don't have to join the church, but our understanding of families and a loving Heavenly Father and eternal perspective is something that the world really, really, really needs. And that's where I'm encouraged, that I think we're just going to find ourselves more and more and more involved in helping the world do things as a participant in the world, not trying to shun the world and stay away from it. I think there was a time for that, but that time's passed. We've got to turn ourselves around and bless people around us with what we know as members of the church that they don't have and they don't understand. So that's where my hope is we just need to change how we look, what we think we're involved in. The church moving forward in this next century has got to be a really force for good out there, not just pull inside the fortress, pull the covers over our head and just
we're safe.
Yeah, we're safe. We're going to hide in here. Well, that's really keeping our light under the bushel.
Oh, isn't that true? Okay, one more question.
Yeah.
This is a therapy question. What would you say to, grandparents or great-grandparents who are hoping, they're seeing their next generations kind of take different paths? What would you say to that particular generation if they really wanted to heal, but they feel like it's too late, I've participated in this family pattern for so long? Is there hope, or are they stuck?
Yeah, for one thing, our eternal perspective ought to tell us that, and we've certainly had kids that are struggling, and one of the things that I believe is that for so many on the other side of the veil, whether they may not come back in this life, or they may be traumatized by whatever in this life. On the other side of the veil, if I give Jesus 1,000 years to work with one of your kids, how's that going to go?
He only needs 30 seconds, man. He's good.
He is. My money's on Jesus.
Yeah.
And so much of what we understand, the decisions that we make in this life that may be destructive, may be unhelpful, there's so many factors that go into, you almost wonder how much free agency we have because you look at how many things affect our agency.
That's true.
From genetics to addictions to peer groups to... So there's a lot of reasons that people don't make healthy choices. But get them to the other side of the veil, and with parents and grandparents and great-great-grandparents and the light of Christ and stuff like that, he gets them home. I tend to be kind of a universalist. I think just about everybody, we're not going to erase their agency, but I think just about everybody will ultimately choose to come home, because we have a heavenly parent that won't stop until he gets as many as he can home.
So it's okay to accept mortality it's an experience. We're
And
learning.
if that's the case, then if they're leaving the church or they're really struggling, I don't panic if they have left. My job is to love them and maintain a relationship with them and be that for them. And because I want them to be good people, even if they're not going to be in the church at the moment. And even if as parents, we've been less than perfect, it's amazing how much a good relationship as they get older can make up for some of that.
So we can always rebuild those relationships.
I think you can.
In ways.
I think you can if you just love and be patient and kind of turn it over to the Savior to know what He's going to do and what our job will be. When we get in trouble is when we panic and we think it's all got to be done in this life, or they're going to another kingdom and I'll never see them again, and we get in this really short-term way of looking at things, and I think we miss it by quite a bit, and I think we'll say and do things that will actually destroy the relationship or push it farther away.
Okay, thank you. That's a needed message of hope, I think, right now.
The hope's there. Just love the snot out of them.
We all need some love, right?
We do, big time, big time.
Oh, it's great. Okay, I have one final question. This one's the hardest one.
Yeah.
Who is someone you nominate to be interviewed in the Word podcast?
Who needs to be interviewed?
Who would you like to see interviewed in the Word podcast?
Wow. If you think about the personalities that we have in the Ward, there are so many interesting people. I'll tell a couple of people I would probably pick on. I love Becky Van Leeuwen.
Oh, she's good.
She just really, and I don't know how many people get to know her because she's working out of town. So I love Becky. I think who else? I think Bart Bateman's understanding of where the church has been in his growing up period of time. Bart would be another good possibility that you could pick on.
Okay, those are both really good.
Yeah.
I hope they say yes.
Well, tell them I sicked them on you.
All right. I have a recommendation.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Thank you so much for sharing today.
Oh, it's fun.
Rich experiences.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
Glad to have you in the Ward. And until next time, we're signing off.
All right.